welcome. You join Faceless Brother-in-Law and I as we continue our visit to Big Bend National Park. I'll link part 1 up above. In the early hours, I was awoken by a combination of the car rocking, the noise of the wind, and some interesting language from Faceless Brother-in-Law. I didn't get any usable footage as it was pitch black, but after battening down his tent, Faceless Brother-in-Law went back to sleep and I climbed back into the car, and I did my best to catch some shut-eye. We'd chosen Ocotillo Grove as our campsite due to its proximity, being only 5 miles or so from our sunrise location, thinking that would gain some sleep time. As they say, the best laid plans of mice and men. As we left, you really do get to appreciate how dark the skies are in this area. Luckily, the roads were in pretty good condition, so despite the added swirl of dust in the air, headlights, main beams and ditch lights were just about enough, which was handy because that's all I had. Arriving at Santa Elena Canyon, it was no brighter, so I deployed my trusty mini marauder and headed off down the trail. We knew roughly where we had to go, which was the reason for a quick visit here 2 days earlier, to get our bearings during the day. Thankfully, the light helped me to avoid a collection of meadow muffins, as well as spotting the likely culprit. As we look here, the sun will be coming up to our left. Handy to pre-plan this or have a compass with you. My watch has ABC functions for that very reason. We still have about 40 minutes until sunrise. The only issue I can foresee is that there is a hole in the cloud cover, so we'll have to see what happens there. But the clouds are moving very quickly. Also, if you look at the water, you can see the ripples on the surface. This is the real-time 4 minutes condensed into 20 seconds. It's a lot easier to see how much the clouds are moving and how the wind is hitting the Rio Grande, all of which will affect the elements within the image, as well as potentially camera shake as the wind is more or less coming straight on at us right now. The colour is now starting to show in the clouds, so with a little more elevation of the sun, the rock face on the right hand side, which is Mexico, will start to glow, hopefully. However, the wind is really getting up, so I'm just going to concentrate on getting the image for now. Back in a moment. The reason I chose this spot was for 2 bites at the cherry, as it were. As the sun continues to rise, I can now turn to my right and look at the canyon, and hopefully capture the sun hitting the wall on the American side. What sucks here is that the clouds have mostly gone. This time-lapse clip condenses about 9 minutes into 30 seconds. There's maybe 2 minutes, give or take, where the golden light is just gorgeous on the American Canyon wall. I didn't bother removing my shadow from this photo, as this isn't the image I was hoping for due to the lack of cloud interest. Still, not bad as a reminder of the trip though. With sunrise done, it was time to venture along the trail into the canyon. First a quick shimmy over stacked branches to get to the other side of Terlingua Creek, and then a short climb up to a maintained switchback path. It's much more open up here, and as you can see, and here, the wind is still with us, and quite strong and gusty, but currently bearable. The trail is pretty easy and is somewhat protected from the wind by the vegetation. We kept going until we were stopped by a combination of no more path and being battered by a mixture of wind, water and sand. As we are looking upstream here, the wind is blowing against the flow of water. Looking downstream now, and the wind is directly in our faces, along with the sand and the water. Lovely, as you can imagine. Walking back, Faceless brother-in-law spotted this. Not sure if this is a centipede or millipede. I'm sure someone will let me know in the comments. The wind was fairly whistling up the canyon now, so we picked up the pace as we returned to the car for some much needed high octane liquid magic. The next stop was the Desert Mountains Overlook. I'll let you decide if the wind's dying down or not. Yeah. The view here, as you can see, is spectacular. But the wind is so strong, even the camera is struggling to keep focus. And after a sleep-interrupted night, the wind is really starting to get to both Faceless brother-in-law and I. So just a quick photo before taking refuge once more in the car. I'm on the tripod, but with this wind I've gone for a 1/320th of a second, which I hope is quick enough to still be sharp. As always, check your image after taking the photo. So thankful to get out of that wind. Heading back along the Ross Maxwell Scenic Drive, the clouds were fabulous. Our plan was to head to the eastern side of the park for later that day, so we just had to decide how to spend the next few hours on the western side. Lower Burrow Mesa Trail offered us some respite from the wind and a nice walk up a wash to a seasonal waterfall, and by seasonal I mean flash flood. This waterfall can be reached from the top too, and we even shared greetings with some that had done that and were waving down at us as we waved back up at them. This is an easy hike, it's pretty, and more to the point, it was sheltered from the wind. Being lunchtime and with us passing Chisos Basin, we took an executive decision to stop for lunch at the restaurant one last time. Once again the clouds were teasing us as we climbed the mountain road, but we did get to take in the splendour of the mountains for one last time. When we arrived, we came across this little fella, who was apparently happy enough with the camera pointed at them. Or probably more interested in looking for morsels dropped under the picnic benches. And then another one appeared. I'm absolutely devastated they aren't actually blue. That's one for the older crowd there. And just as quickly disappeared. After lunch we headed for the eastern side of the park. First stop was the wind vane that pumps water to Panther Junction. Yes, it does need oiling. Whilst good for the wind vane, the wind was not conducive to smooth filming or autofocus. But being a good representation of western scenes, I had to get a photo anyway. I couldn't decide whether I preferred the square or standard crop. Like them both.
Arriving at Texas Rio Grande Visitor Center on the right.
Our next stop was the Rio Grande Village Welcome Center, just to check in and see what was there. It also provided a chance to chat with the park rangers for any news or warnings before we headed out on the trails again. And we saw some burros, or donkey, or mule, not sure. We backtracked slightly for our next destination, which was the hot springs. I'm sure we've all watched some of the off-road channels on YouTube, especially those recovery ones. Although some tracks were closed whilst we were there, we'd found almost all of them to be in pretty good condition for the most part, but there are sharp rocks and the occasional drop or hole. So the best advice here is just to keep a steady pace, not too quick, and look well ahead so you can pick your line. Keep an eye out for dust in the distance as a precursor to an oncoming vehicle, especially if you're using the entire width of the track, like I was. A second pair of eyes in Faisler's brother-in-law helped, as he does this kind of thing regularly. There is one really cool section. It's one way, but it's a little tight in places with a drop off into a wash. That would be a problem, so pay attention. After an hour of soaking in the hot springs, we'd managed to remove most of the sand, dust and grime that had been blasting us all morning, and we both felt so much better for it. With other people there, it was not really appropriate to film or photograph, so you rejoin us as we head for La Clocha, our campsite for tonight. The sun is setting as we arrive to a posse of wild horses. First order of business is to check out the site. There's a food storage bin and some notices there. Apart from setting up to sleep, we also need to eat. Well, it looks like the horses had the same idea as us. It's far too windy still to try and cook at this exposed campsite, so we're going to head to the next site, which we can see from here and is more sheltered. And that was a genius decision. So, on to cooking supper. Following the tradition of keeping it simple, this will be some pre-cooked sausage, thinly sliced. Boil some water, a little salt and add pasta. Stir. Add tomato sauce, rest for a few minutes to heat that up, then serve over the sausage. Yummy. Returning to our allotted campsite, the wind had picked up again, so we made ourselves comfortable in the car, me in the front and Faceless brother-in-law in the back. We also diligently put a bottle of pre-mixed old-fashioned to bed. That too was yummy. We're heading out of Big Bend, so our final stop in the park was at Panther Junction. But once there, we saw an opportunity for a final sunrise image. There's decent cloud and a gap on the horizon for the sun to shine through. It was very dark, so I threw caution to the wind and tiptoed through the cacti to find a composition. It's not going to win any awards, but it's okay for an ad hoc image. Having left Big Bend, we made it 3 national parks in a day, stopping for lunch at Guadalupe Mountains, going underground at Carlsbad Caverns, and staring at doodads. But that's next time. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed travelling along with us today, a like and a subscribe would be much appreciated. Until next time.